To summarize this episode, it was okay. After the big twist in second half of episode 5, this one kind of felt like it let me down in some parts. In other parts, this episode build upon two characters that now I have fallen in love with them. And the fact that it took to episode 6 to fully get involved with these characters was kind of disappointing. But before I get into that, I just thought the writing, I mean, maybe this was needed to, if I step back a little bit, just to give us a little bit more story. It can't be all just like, you know, excitement and twist and reveals and all that stuff. It would, you need a little bit of storytelling, and I guess that this episode did that. I mean, we pick up with Alina obviously stowing away in the cart that Kaz, Jesper, and Aneg were all, you know, in. And right off the bat, you think it's gonna, I mean, at least me, when I started watching episode 6, I was like, oh right, they might team up and they're gonna be like a little group. But no, like just as quick as she got in is as quick as she got out. And you know, she gets out there and she uses her powers and escapes. And Eneg obviously believes in her as the Santa Alina, you know, Saint Alina, as she's being known now throughout the country. She didn't want to, like, you know, hold her, or she has respect for Alina because of what she could bring, and ultimately getting rid of the fold. And I thought it was going to be more, but nope, she just gets in there and then goes on the run. And you know, there's a little bit of drama, like you're like, oh, is she gonna get kidnapped again? But no, she manages to escape. And then we have the brilliant, I'm not gonna say brilliant, let me calm down. We have the reunion of Mal and Alina, the couple that I wanted to see together since episode 1. Mal finally catches up to Alina. How he did that, I guess he's just that good as a scout or tracker or whatever. Maybe he has some powers that we're not aware of yet, is why maybe they're connected somehow, you know, like in some supernatural form. That's the only thing I could think of. But going back a little bit, I mean, I know she was training and Alina was getting more familiar with her powers, but she's really good with her powers. Like when one of the troops tried to grab her and she just used the light to like hold, you know, her head and basically blind the dude with the sun or whatever she did. I'm like, when did she learn this? Like, from what we saw earlier, she was just doing pretty balloons and pretty light bubbles and, you know, making 2 and making it 1. It was all circus acts. All of a sudden, she's weaponizing this. And I'm like, where did this come from? You know, it would have been nice to at least give us some sort of, at least a little bit of her using it as a weapon, as opposed to using it in front of, you know, what, hundreds of people when she was in the castle. And she could have killed someone, hurt someone, but she, you know, maybe that's what they were doing, the illusion of the masterful or whatever. But I didn't like it. Like, it's too like, all of a sudden she becomes a master at it. So whatever. I found that a little off-putting. I'm like, when did she learn this? So, but anyways, back to the reunion of Mal and Alina. I actually cracked a nice little smile and I was like, dope. I'm like, he found her. Now he's going to protect her. Now he's going to tell, you know, express how much he loves her. But no, they go back to, Alina loses all her self-confidence again. She's back to the Alina we saw in episode 1. And maybe it's because they really like each other, but they have a hard time expressing it to each other because they don't want to make it weird. And maybe that's the angle that they're playing, but they both seem shy with each other. They both seem like they want to say more than what they are saying, and you're just like, get it out, tell each other you guys love each other, you guys want to be together, but just tell it, but they don't, so and we find, Mal finally finds out that Alina is, the sun bringer, the light bringer, the myth Saint Alina, and he was like, oh, why didn't you tell me? And she goes, I didn't know. And I was, when she cut herself, as we see in episode 2 or 3, when they do catch up to her or them, and they put them to the test, because there's these tests to find out if you're a Grisha or not. And she was like, I didn't know. I cut myself to avoid having the pain. How was I supposed to know if I was or not? There was no way for me to know. And so it was cute. Now he's there in a protective role again, and I'm excited to see where that goes. Just to touch on Kaz, Jesper, and Ineg, when Kerrigan catches up to them, they're at a tavern. Obviously, they're always in a freaking bar, and General Kerrigan catches up to him, and he sends his generals or whatever, or captains, whatever the hell the ranking is here. They're his own personal Grisha after the 3. How convenient that they all... I didn't like that part, and I call it convenience just because that's... Every time they did something after the second one, I was like, oh, how convenient. Oh, how convenient. It seemed that, again, I get that they're clever, they're survivalists, they've done everything. Their whole life is about staying alive, right? And working to get the upper hand in every situation. But you're telling me that Kaz, with his limp, was able to throw this freaking magic bomb and disappears with that severe limp? Or is that limp just a way for him to bring his opponent's guard down? Like, oh, how much of a threat can he be if he's over here limping? Like, I got this. Like, this dude is no match, but he really doesn't have a handicap. And even the same thing with Ineg. Like, she got the Grisha that was fighting with Ineg. Like, she had the upper hand, but then, oh, clever, off little fog, she disappears. And I get she has the whole Batman disappearing acting down to a T, but it was like, oh, how convenient. And the same thing with Jesper. Like, I know he's really, really good with shooting his bullets, but is that how physics works? Like, can I shoot a wall and then it's gonna ricochet and bounce and bounce and bounce and hit that same spot? Like, is that how it works? I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna go out and get a gun and get my gun. I'm gonna go shoot it at a wall and shoot it at a steel plate and see if I can make it ricochet like 3 or 4 times and hit the exact target twice without even seeing, just by the sound that they're making. And I'm just so dope. Like, I didn't know that's the way it worked. Revolutionary. But again, I was like, how convenient. He hits the same spot and that's how he gets the upper hand. I was like, oh my. And from the first shot, I knew that was going to happen. I was like, is he going to use the plated, the body armor as the way to get the upper hand? And sure enough, he did. So I was like, how convenient. So I didn't really like that. But again, I mean, it's not like they're going to kill him off, even though at least Ineg got a little injury, but nothing too much. I'm sure by episode 7, she's going to be, find a healer and she'll get healed. And then she'll be right up like, up and at him like usual. But now it brings me to the stars of this episode. And honestly, these 2 characters are written, I don't know, maybe it's just because they resembled another couple that I fell in love with. Nina and Matthew to be short, but Matthias and Nina stole the show in this episode, or let's just say stole this episode. And for me, honestly, they stole this series. The way they have built the showrunners, the writers have built them up from being a captive, a prisoner, and having this little journey going through where he, Matthias is getting affection now for Nina. And that scene when they're in the hut and they're laughing together, I thought that was so cute, adorable. I was like, oh, that is nice. The way they built them, you feel it's organic. You feel that it would be something that would genuinely happen given the circumstances. I mean, the boat that they were both in, she was a prisoner and he was her captive, gets overturned and destroyed by the ocean. They basically have this freaking Titanic moment when they're mind you, this proves that freaking Rose could have saved Leo or Jack in that movie. The piece of wood is basically the same, and yet maybe they were doing that on purpose in this show, but it proved that Rose is a bitch, inconsiderate bitch, and let Jack die, because she could have let him on, and there was a boat there. At least in this one it was worse. They had to swim to shore. All she had to do was let him on for a few more minutes, get together, use a little bit of that body heat, and Jack would have been alive and well. But nope. But they survived that. They reached shore. They're working together. More Nina is working with him. Matthias is still so stubborn, but they go through a traumatic experience together. Now they're in survival mode and they're surviving, and they progress where at the end you start seeing there's some kind of affection between. Matthias is actually starting to like Nina, and she even says it, like, what, are you afraid when they're in the mountains in the snow? She's like, are you afraid to like me? And he goes, no, I do like you. I just don't know if you're using your magic to make me like you, but I do feel like I like you. And speaking of snow, it brings me to those two characters that they remind me of. And it's Jon Snow and Ingrid in Game of Thrones. Their relationship, almost similar, right? Jon Snow had Ingrid as his prisoner. And in that, story development, they end up falling in love. And that's all this reminded me. Not least that they were in a mountain with almost the same circumstances as Jon Snow and Ingrid were. Nina and Matthias were literally in that same exact predicament, and I loved it. And maybe that's why I love it so much, because I love Jon Snow and Ingrid's character so much together. Kind of pissed me off when Daenerys and Jon Snow were in the mountain and she kind of steals Ingrid's line, when they were in the hot spring, Ingrid and Jon Snow like, oh, we could stay here forever. And then Daenerys uses that cheap little line. I mean, obviously it's not her, the writers, but the character used that. I was like, don't use that line. It's not meant for you. But maybe that's why I think that Nina and Matthias was, but I thoroughly love those two together, and for me they stole the show. Let me know, did you guys think the same? What do you guys think about this couple? Yay, nay about this couple? I don't know. I say yay. I mean, I love them together. They are cute. Again, it feels organic. It doesn't feel forced, at least not for me. It feels so organic. But I enjoyed the episode overall. Again, it was a little bit too long, and I was like, that's why I said if I could summarize it, okay. I mean, it was an episode, but I did enjoy that Nina and Matthias actually, their development from hatred and mistrust with one another to a kind of a love story happening. So I can't wait to see where that goes in the last two episodes. But hey, those are just my thoughts. I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments. And like always, that's a wrap.